Today we're going to be talking about the Black Eyed Kids. Are they real or just an urban legend? Here are some of the stories people have shared about what happened when they encountered them. The first one that I have happened in 1996 to Brian. He was in a parking lot in a mini mall, and it was dark. It was 10 p.m. at night, and he suddenly heard a knock on his window. He turned around and he saw two boys standing right there, around 9 and 12 years old, and they were wearing hoodies and staring at the ground. They weren't really looking at him, but he had this overwhelming sense of fear that something was wrong. It didn't make sense to him because there were two kids, but he felt there was something wrong. Like his instinct told him to basically run from that place. However, he rolled his window a little bit to kind of be able to talk to them. There were two boys. The older boy, who had olive skin and curly hair, he said to Brian, "Hey, me and my brother wanted to see the Mortal Kombat movie, but we forgot to get money from home. Can you give us a ride home and bring us back so we can watch the movie?" Now, Brian was like, okay, this does not make any sense. He looked at the movie theater and the last movie had already started. So if he took them anywhere and brought them back, by the time they came back, the movie was going to be done. So that didn't make any sense. So the younger boy, which had red hair, pale skin, freckles like me, he was just standing behind his older brother, saying nothing. He was just standing still. So since Brian was having this sense of dread and whatever they said didn't make sense, he was like, I don't know about that. But the older kid, who was the only one speaking, he was saying, "We're just two little kids. It won't take long. Just take us home and bring us back." But Brian wasn't sure about that. He was still thinking about it, and suddenly he realized he was almost about to open the door, even though he didn't meant to do so. So he kind of snapped out of bed, thinking like, what the hell, what's going on? I don't feel safe with these kids in here. Why will I open the door? Well, he looked at the boys again, and for the first time, they kind of looked up, so Brian was able to see their eyes, and they were as black as coal. Now, by this time, he was in a complete state of panic. Like, what the hell is that? What is this kids? Why am I feeling this way? And he just screamed at them, "I cannot help you. Get out of here." The red hair boy, he was like, okay, what's happening? But the older boy, he just got angry. So he started pounding at the window, said, "We can't come in unless you tell us it's okay. Let us in." So he was like mad. And Brian was like, okay, I'm getting out of here. So he took off. And as he looked into the rearview mirror, he realized that these guys were gone. This was the first documented encounter with the Black Eyed Kids, and this happened to Brian Bethel in Abilene, Texas in 1996. So now that more people are telling their own story, I will tell you the experience of a U.S. Marine who encountered the Black Eyed Kids. This happened in 2009, and it was November, and it was a weekend, and most Marines were either outside having drinks or partying, or already sleeping because it was late, and some of them were just chilling at home, just like the men we're gonna talk about. He was at his apartment, and his apartment was in the barracks, and he was on the third floor, and suddenly he hears a knock on his door, like, and he wondered who the hell it was. But at the same time, he saw, oh, I think it's my roommate that either forgot his keys or lost them, because it's not the first time he had done so. So he went and opened the door. However, when he opened the door, instead of his roommate, there were two kids in there, standing in the hallway. These kids immediately sent chill down his spine. He didn't know why, right? He said, "I'm a trained Marine. All internal warning systems were screaming at me to shut the door and lock it, especially after seeing the black eyes." So now this Marine is freaking out, seeing these two kids with black eyes, and he thinks, what do I do, right? But now at the same time, he's like a Marine, and he say, oh my God, I had to be brave. And so he asked him, what are you doing here so late at night? And these two kids come and said, it's cold outside. Can we come in and read? Wow. Who will come to a stranger house and ask, hey, can I come inside and read? Well, that didn't make any sense. So the Marine just peeked his head outside, trying to see if there was any adults, maybe their parents, or any other Marines. But he didn't see anyone at all. When he looked back at the kids, he realized they somehow had moved closer to him, even though he didn't hear them moving at all. At this point, he felt like a prey being hunted by a predator. So he finally listened to his instinct and shut the door. The kids didn't leave. The kids kept knocking on the door over and over and over for several minutes while the Marine was inside freaking out, feeling this sense of dread, of doom, something is wrong, until suddenly it stopped. The next morning, he goes and reports, hey, this happened to me last night. But basically they say, oh, you were probably drunk. I don't think you saw anything. However, he wasn't drinking at all. And to this day, he still thinks about those kids and how they were anything but normal. What happens if you let them in? This is the story of a mom and a 10-year-old boy. And they were driving home, but mom needed to buy some milk at the store. She stopped like in a convenience store. And they live in a rural area where everybody knew each other and nothing out of the ordinary happened. Like everybody knew what was happening around them. She felt safe leaving her 10-year-old son in the back of the car while she went inside to get the milk and come back, because she could see the car from inside the store. Then when she come out, she opened the car and she said, hey buddy, how you doing? But when she looked into the rearview mirror, her heart stopped because he looked terrified, like something was completely wrong. She turned around and that's when she saw him, a boy with a creepy evil smile and black eyes. She opened the door, grabbed her son, and run to the store. She was panicking. Her heart was pounding, and she's trying to explain to the clerk what happened. All the clerk heard was somebody's trying to kidnap that little kid. I'm gonna call the police. And she's like, no, that's not gonna happen. Let me call my husband. So she called her husband and say, hey, I need you to come and pick me up. Something happened. I need you to come. While the husband was driving to the store, the mom asked the son, what happened? He explained that he was sitting in the car waiting for her, and suddenly he heard a little knock and he looked around and there was this little boy. He asked, hey, can I go to your house and play with you? And since he was an only child, he got excited and said, of course you can. Just come into the car and we'll give you a ride home and we can play. He opened the door, he got into the car, and I felt so terrified of him. I didn't know what to do, Mom. And then you came, and thankfully you took me out of it. Finally, the husband came to the store and they checked the car to see if there was anyone in there, but it was completely empty. The wife put her son in her husband's car and she drove the husband's car to the house while the husband followed them in her car. However, he never made it. Somewhere along the lines, he was in a car accident. He was taken to the hospital. When the wife went to see him, she asked what happened. And he was saying he was driving completely fine home, and all of a sudden he got this smell like a rotten eggs, like sulfur. Something smelled horrible. So he looked into the rearview mirror and see this kid with an evil, creepy smile and black eyes. He freaked out, and then he started feeling dizzy and he passed out and crashed. The husband, he recovered. He was fine after the accident. However, the son wasn't that lucky because after he encountered that kid that he let into the car, he suffered from different illness, one after the other, with no clear explanation of what was causing them. They still think about that black-eyed kid, wondering if he's still somewhere around there looking for them. This is a story about a very old couple who lived in Vermont, and it was a winter night. And they were sleeping when they heard 3 knocks on the front door. It was somewhere around 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was snowing outside. In fact, there was a storm outside. So half asleep, they wake up and they go into the door, kind of wondering if something happened and maybe somebody needed help. But at the same time, they're trying to be cautious, because it's the middle of the night. They don't know who is on the other side of the door. When they open the door, they see 2 little kids on the porch. A girl with light long straight hair and a boy with an old-fashioned bowl haircut. Immediately, both of them felt this sense of doom or dread. Something was wrong. At the same time, they look at the kids and say, okay, this doesn't make sense. These are just two little kids. What's happening? In perfect unison, in a creepy voice, the boys say, may we come inside? The husband kind of look around to see if he could see a car or maybe the parents or someone around, but there was no one there. So he asked, where are your parents? They said in that unison creepy voice, they'll be here soon. All instincts were screaming at the old couple, saying, don't let them in, don't let them in. There's something dangerous about these kids. At the same time, it was kind of freezing outside, and this kid had barely any clothes for that kind of weather, so they feel bad. So in spite of feeling that they shouldn't let them in, they did. So they invited them home, and the wife went to the kitchen to make some hot cocoa, while the husband stayed in the living room kind of wondering what happened. So he will ask them, hey, what happened? Where are your parents? Where do you live? But these kids will say nothing. They will just sitting straight, looking blankly at them. The only thing that they will say is, our parents will be here soon. And they will say it at the same time, which make it a little more creepy. They show no emotion, no distress, like nothing had happened, like you're not in the middle of the night in a strange home. For them, they were fine. The wife was in the kitchen making the hot cocoa, and she noticed something strange. Her cats, they have 4 of them, and they were very friendly. Usually when there was somebody around the house, especially kids, they will come around to play with the visitors. However, 3 of their cats, they were hiding. And the last one, every time the cat heard the voice of the kids, he would start hissing, growling, and backing out until he was completely out of view. Eventually, the wife returned to the living room, holding the 2 hot cocoa cups to the kids. When she entered the living room, she had chill down her spine. The kids were like sitting completely straight, looking completely out of place, and the husband, he was bending over, holding his face like something wrong happened. And she was like, what is wrong? What happened? And he said, I just feel dizzy. I don't feel good. So she turned around to give the hot cocoa to the kids. And for the first time, these kids finally look up and she see that they had black eyes. She did everything she could not to scream, not to drop the cups, because she was completely freaked out. And the kids kind of sensed that she was freaking out. They say, in this unison voice, and we use the restroom. So they stood up and they went to the restroom. And the husband and wife, they were just hushing and looking at each other. Do you see the eyes? They're completely black. Oh my God. Do you feel the same way I feel? I'm so freaking out. I don't know what to do. And just like that, the husband's nose start bleeding. And not just like little drips of blood, and start gushing blood so much that he will put his hands in his mouth or around the nose to try to stop it, and it wouldn't stop. So the wife, which was all confused because he had never in his life had a nosebleed before, she stood up to get some tissue, and just like that, boom, the power went out and they were in complete darkness. She turned around towards her husband, and all she see at the end of the hall are these 2 little kids looking at them. They were terrifying looking, and then they say in that unison creepy voice, our parents are here. The kids just opened the front door. They didn't bother to close it behind them or saying thank you or anything, and they just took off towards the car. Now, both husband and wife, they were relieved. Finally, these kids are out of here because this was a nightmare. They peek into the window to see who picked them up. There are 2 guys, very tall, about 6 feet tall, wearing hats and dark glasses, even though it was dark outside. The kids got into the back seat, and the men in black turned around and looked into the direction of the house, then got into the car and just drove off. Now, the husband and wife just finally took a deep sigh of relief. They were done with this nightmare. They thought this was over. However, nothing was ever the same after this. Within months, 3 of their cats completely disappeared, never to be found. And the last one, the one that hissed that night, they found him in a pool of his own blood, and he was dead. The husband kept having this nosebleed almost every day, and eventually he was diagnosed with a very aggressive skin cancer. And in some versions of this story, he actually dies. The wife, on the other hand, she also suffered from nosebleed and dizzy spells, but she survived. So, till this day, both the wife and the husband think that everything that happened to them, the cats disappearing or dying, and the disease that they have, it was all because of those kids. Now, what do you think about this story? It seems like a lot of the stories that I came across about the black eyed kids will give you the sense of dread and doom, and it will make your skin crawl like there's something wrong, and most people will not let them in. And the few stories that I read where they did, they always will suffer some kind of illness afterwards, and also like misfortune, like they will have bad luck for a long time. Now, what are the black eyed kids? Because nobody really knows. But there are many theories. The first theory is that the black eyed kids are actually a demonic entity or a malevolent spirit, and some even think that they're actually the kids of the devil himself. One, because of the way they make you feel, that irrational fear, that feeling of doom that the world is gonna end. Two, the way the eyes look, completely black, like voids to the nothingness. And three, because according to traditional folklore, demons need permission to enter your home, just like the black eyed kids. Like they will always beg to let them in. And if you don't, they will get upset or confused sometimes. Other things that they're actually aliens or extraterrestrial just because the way their skin looks and the way their eyes are. So this is when they say black eyed kids, this is exactly how I think their eyes is gonna look, like completely black. So some believe that they are alien from another planet. They are coming here. I don't know what they're looking for or why they make you feel the way they make you feel, but that's some of the theories. Another theory is actually they believe that there are vampires. The reason that they believe they are vampires is because some said that vampires need permission to come inside your house, just like the black eyed kids. But instead of feeding themselves blood, they actually feed themselves through emotions. So that's what they make you feel the way they make you feel, so they can basically eat your emotions. They say right here, they drain the life force of the victims, especially if you let them in. So don't let them in. The last one, and of course it's probably the more reasonable one, is that it is simply an urban legend. They started in the 90s when Brian Bethel shared his story and it went just crazy. Now, do you believe they are just a legend, or do you believe that they could be something else? What do we know about the black eyed kids? Well, to start, of course, that their eyes are black. And apparently they have been here around the world for decades. And it's not just around the United States, because they have been seen all around the world. They're usually between the age of 8 and 16, and with skin, they pale, almost like sick looking, or olive toned skin. They also either dress in an old-fashioned way, like out of place, with too big or baggy clothing, sometimes even raggedy clothing, or they might use hoodie and jeans, like a pull-up hoodie and jeans. Now, the first thing is that normally when you encounter them the first time, they will be looking down. So they will be looking down to the ground, so you won't be able to see the floor. However, even if you don't see them, you will feel like something bad is happening. You will have that sense of fear, that dread, something is horrible wrong, and almost as if an evil or a demon is standing right in front of you. These are some of the things that people said. My stomach was in knots. I was scared senseless. My mind kept telling me they were just kids and needed help, but I couldn't bear the fear reaction from my body. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. So those are some of the description of people who have encountered them. Another thing that we know about the black eyed kids is that the way they talk is unusual. Like it doesn't make sense. It's awkward and abnormal. Yeah, they use like a monotone tone or like a sing-song tone, and they're not afraid to talk to adults. Like most kids will feel a little awkward to talk to strangers, but these kids don't. They're always trying to get in somewhere, wherever you are. Either you're in your car, or you are in your apartment, or in your house, or in a boat. They will say, "Just let us in. It won't take long. We are just kids. I wanna come and watch TV inside with you." Which, like, what kind of kids will come to your house and say, "Hey, can I read inside your house?" Or, "Hey, can I watch TV in your house?" And you don't know who they are. So that doesn't make any sense. And like I said, the tone of voice is completely off. If you don't let them in, or if you say you cannot come in, they will insist, "You must let us in. We are just kids. You have to let us in." Or they will actually get angry and demand that you let them in. Some of them think that they also have like hypnotic abilities or mind control, because more than one people have said that they suddenly either were like reaching to open the door even though they didn't mean to, or move away so the kids could come inside even though they didn't mean to. Like somebody was controlling them. And other people said that they can communicate through telepathy between them, and that they can also read your mind. There was a case that I read where the man who was terrified, he closed the door, so he was behind the door, and he was like, "Oh, help me, Jesus." But he was just thinking, "Please help me, Jesus." And suddenly the voice on the other side of the door said, "You know he's not real, right?" But he never said it out loud. So many people feel they can read your mind, which again makes it even more creepy. Another thing that we know is that they move fast. Okay, like that case where you turn around and you turn around back and they're closer to you and you didn't even hear or see anything. Or that they can vanish, like probably teleport somewhere, because they just disappear and there's no place for them to hide at all. In some cases, they say they have a very bad smell, like rotten eggs, like sulfur, which some people associated with demonic entities. And that's also what some people think, that maybe they are the children of the devils themselves. I don't know. Now, why haven't they been caught on any camera devices? Nowadays everybody has a Ring camera or something. Well, apparently every time there's a camera present, for some reason they stop working. There's like a little glitch that causes the time to skip forward, or nothing gets recorded. And even one time I saw one that a guy claimed that he saw the Black Eyed Kids and he was talking to them, and when he went to review the footage, it looked like he was by himself talking to somebody. The kids, even though he saw the kids, there was no one in there. So maybe only he could see it, which that's creepy. It's almost like a ghost. At the end, what is the moral of all these stories is basically, if you ever encounter a black-eyed kid, whatever you do, don't let them in. Anyhow, I really hope you like this story. Thank you for being here, for whoever was here. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great weekend. See you next time. Bye.